And after your head comes out of the water, when you stand up
Then you
completely,
exhale.
that's when you exhale.
Right.
So, like between my two sentences, I'm pausing so that two sentences don't merge. That's called punctuation in grammar. So, similarly, with respect to exercises, this is called punctuation phase. So, if I want to do 5 reps of squat, what I'll simply do is at the first repetition, I would breathe, retain my air inside, sit down, go up, exhale, and take fresh breath again. So, if my first repetition is an original copy, rest of the 4 reps would be like photocopies.
Right.
So there will be fresh breath, fresh bracing of the
Yeah.
abdomen for every single rep. So rather calling it a set of 5 reps, I would say that 1 rep done 5 times.
Yeah. Every rep will
So
be a
if
new
you
rep.
ever, yes, 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 and every time when you record your videos, you should be able to see that the first repetition and the last repetition should identically look the same. The only difference between the first and fifth rep would be that probably the fifth rep would be a failure point, a physical failure, where you could see that on the way up, you may decelerate. So that shows that your rate coding, that is the amount of electrical impulses sent to the muscle, they're slowing down. So that shows that your
Hmm.
neuromuscular fatigue is setting in, but there should
Hmm.
not be any collapse of the movement. So if the integrity of the form is maintained all throughout, that shows that the core is highly active. So it's not about sucking the belly in. In fact, it's the other way around. It's about expanding the belly like a balloon and hold it tight. So breathe and brace, sit down, get up. Now, the reason I had taken squat as an example, that's because very often people talk about back pain during squat, back pain during deadlifts. So
Deadlifts. Yeah.
regardless of the amount of weight taken, so even if you're squatting with your own body weight, do not inhale on the way down and do not exhale on the way up. First, learn to withhold breath. So, withholding of breath creates, so that technique, as somebody rightly pointed out, she said it is called Valsalva maneuver. That is nothing but withholding of breath. That's a technical term for that. And all these abdominal muscles undoubtedly need to be strong enough. They need to be thick enough. Now, imagine a lot of time people talk about, oh, Valsalva maneuver is so risky. Yes, it is risky for those whose abdominal muscles are undeveloped. I'll tell you why and what could happen. If these abdominal muscles are like thin sheet of layer, like a small birthday balloon, you try to blow that balloon with a lot of force, the balloon will burst
Right.
because the rubber, the
On the
elastic is
yeah.
too thin, right? But imagine trying to blow the hot water bag. Now the rubber tube is so thick that if you try to expand that with a lot of air
Hmm.
force, it won't burst out. You require really, really, really good force. So your abdominal muscles, your paraspiral muscles, or your pelvic floor muscles could be as thin as a birthday balloon, or they could be as dense as your hot water bag. So first develop your abdominal muscles, paraspinal muscles, and then start practicing this withholding of breath because that is the foundation of core activation. So once the core activation is learned, now I described about squat. Now let's talk about deadlift for that matter. Let me just, yeah, I hope I would be visible. Am I?
Yeah. Yeah. You are.
Yeah. So let's say if I'm at the bottom of the deadlift. Now
Hmm.
at the bottom of the deadlift, right? Watch me.
Yeah.
The abdomen as I breathe. So this is not that visible. 1 second. So even at the bottom of the deadlift, which is the start position of the deadlift, it's not about raising my chest high. It's about dropping my abdomen down. So as I breathe,
Hmm.
I fill in my abdomen cavity and then I stand up. So here we are not talking about how to deadlift or how to squat. It's about how to breathe. So in one of my posts, I remember I quoted one thing, and that was breathe as if that's your last breath. So breathing is not just for the sake of formality. We breathe for a purpose. And there is only one purpose of breathing as far as lifting weight is concerned, and that is nothing but breathing for stability. So once
Right.
that foundation is set, this foundation is applicable to any given resistance exercise, be it squat, be it deadlift, be it bench presses, be it your overhead presses. And the reason I'm specifying these exercises, I'm not that concerned about bicep curls, I'm not that concerned about leg curls, because in such uni joint or single joint exercises, stability is not the matter of concern. If you see exercises like squat, deadlift, overhead presses, where stability is compromised, where maintaining balance becomes an issue, but lying down on a leg curl machine and then curling that pad up and down, withholding of breath is not that significant. It is quite obvious.
Mm-hmm.
So you wouldn't require stability on an elliptical trainer because you're nicely grounded on a machine, you're fixed, and you're just moving along with the machine. The pedal moves in an ellipse shape, and plus your hands are held on a support. But if
That's
you're running
everywhere.
outdoor,
Mm.
yes, there is no question for stability. But when you're standing on your feet, simply unsupported. So whether you call it unsupported, whether you call it structural, you can name anything. But stability is crucial when there is no other apparatus trying to support you. So standing on 2 feet and lifting things overhead. So you call it overhead presses, but the
Mm-hmm.
same task is performed also in activities of daily living for general population. Now deadlift for us is not for lower back, it's a task where body
Yeah,
learns how
it
to pick up
is.
objects from the ground,
Yeah, it is one
right?
of the daily
So
living activity which
fantastic.
people
So
do
what
like
what I would
normally when
like
in
to
their.
address, yes, so what I would like to address to even general population right now, that we need to focus on a task, that let body become efficient for a particular task, be it pushing things away, be it pulling things closer, be it lifting things up, because all
Mm.
this skeleton framework that you build is finally need to be used somewhere, and that is what I call relatable strength. And that's what our next topic is coming up, and that is called core activation for relatable exercises. Now, since we are talking about exercises which are done in the premise of gym, all these unsupported exercises, the breathing technique will remain same. But after learning how to breathe properly through diaphragm and bracing, there are certain exercises where core strength becomes compromised. And what I mean by become compromised, it is not comprehensively built. So, for instance, if you keep doing squats and disregard all the single legged exercises, since I'm using these terms, you all know that they are called unilateral exercises. If I disregard one legged exercises, I would develop something called asymmetrical strength. And we, as humans, we are bipeds. So we are standing on 2 legs, but we also have ability to stand on one leg and balance on one leg. So our body should know, our core rather should know, or the central nervous should system know that we should be able to balance even on one leg. So that is needed when we run. That is needed when we climb steps. So not just doing pistol squats, but in our day-to-day activities also. So if I keep doing this symmetrical exercises like squats and deadlifts, where both the feet are planted on the floor, one strong side always dominates. And we all are asymmetrically built. I'm not talking about in terms of vanity or aesthetics. Both muscles look identical, but every person knows that one side of there is stronger than the other,
Yeah,
and that
because
is not because of asymmetry of the muscular development, but that is because of the neuromuscular coordination. So simply we have the same fingers on the right side and left side, but with one hand, those who are right side dominated, they can easily write. But left hand also went to the school. But why can't you write as easily with your left hand? That is because of lack of coordination. And some people develop this skill of doing things with both hands identically. So they are called ambidextrous, both the sides even. But we are always unidextrous. Our one side is always more skilled than the other. So when it comes to recruitment of core, the core has to be recruited symmetrically and comprehensively. So first I spoke about how to recruit core comprehensively, that is through diaphragmatic breathing. Now the next step is to recruit core symmetrically. And then, so here comes the exercises which we spoke of. Do you remember one-legged regular deadlift?
yeah,
Yes. Then we spoke about the single leg bridge. Then we spoke about one-legged step up.
Yeah, there are
So
more
yes,
exercises
we'll
like
we'll have to we'll have to assign a separate session for demonstrating all these exercises. But when it comes to building strength, it has to be symmetrically built.
right.
Yeah, somebody said ambidextrous. Yeah, that was ambidextrous. Yeah, go on. You're asking something. I stopped you.
And I wasn't asking. I was just telling you the exercise which involved like side lunge, forward lunge, single leg squat, which we also call pistol squats, then box step ups or single leg
Fair
box lunge.
enough.
Yeah.
Yes, yes, yes.
Also, when we come to the upper body, it's lateral raises, single arm chest presses, or single arm rowing. These are all
Agreed, agreed,
involved in that. Yeah.
agreed. See, there are many variants when it comes to, so every exercise that you do for your upper and lower body can be segmented into symmetrical and asymmetrical. So let's say your two-hand dumbbell presses. You can switch to one hand and it becomes
Yeah.
unilateral,
Unilateral.
right? Now, core strength, like any other strength, is activity specific. Now, let me explain what activity specific simply means. Uh, let's say you practice presses with a bar, whereas I practice presses with dumbbells. Now, identically, you lift, say, about 100 pounds, so do I, 50 pounds on each side. So,
Okay.
as far as absolute strength is concerned, we both are at the same level. You're pushing 100 pounds, so am I. But if we switch our roles, if you start pressing with dumbbells and if I start pressing with barbells, we both would find it difficult. So, in layman's term, what we are doing actually here, we are getting out of our comfort zone. So, you are adapted for symmetrical exercise, which is barbell, both
Right.
side coordinated and dependent,
Hmm.
and I was comfortable with asymmetrical
The
movement, which is relatively more difficult than the
the
barbell
barbell.
presses to balance.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
despite this is, let's say, relatively difficult to do it, but when I switch to barbell presses, despite being a relatively easier exercise, even I would find it difficult for the first time.
Hmm.
So the reason why we find difficulty in tasks, that is purely because of lack of skills or lack of practice. So when people say or when they say practice makes you perfect, what simply it does not grow muscles. It simply sets your coordination. So your nerves, your
Neuromuscular
brain sends
coordination.
signals to your muscles, so your neuromuscular coordination becomes better.
Yeah. Maybe
So
the
with
multiple,
regards
the
to,
mo
yes, yes, the adaptation principle sets in.
yeah.
So strength is activity specific. Now, if we both practice dumbbell presses and chest presses, we'll both will become better at both the task. But let's say if you both are asked to punch somebody as hard as possible, looking at our muscular structure. So let's say me being a fairly, I would not say I'm not blowing my own trumpet, but I'm more developed than an average man as far as muscular development is concerned. But if I were to punch somebody as hard as possible, my punch won't be as explosive or as forceful as a boxer. The boxer could be
Because
half
you're
of my
not
size.
practicing that movement.
Exactly. So although having resources to punch, so my chest
Hmm.
is developed, my deltoids are developed, my triceps is developed. So the
But
resources
it
are
comes
with
down
me.
to the skills and the technique.
Yes. So when you talk about skills, it's nothing but at the bookish level, the skill is nothing but neuromuscular coordination. So my brain never practiced how to punch.
We
So if
set
I've
our
never
motor
practiced
pattern
that,
skills accordingly.
yes. So I would say that I would be a weak link when it comes to punching somebody as hard as possible. But
Hmm.
somebody who's watching our match, let's say me fighting a boxer who is half of my size, I won't be able to knock him out. But his one punch will knock me out. But audience who's watching that, they would always say that, what's the point of building so many muscles? You could not even knock him out. But what they fail to realize that it's like asking a cardiologist, how could you not operate on his back? I'm not an orthopedician.
Right.
So with respect to education, we do have domain expertise. So we all need to be intelligent enough to grow as far as academics are concerned. But within academics also, there is domain specificity. So I am strong, but when I say strong, strong for what? So I am strong to push an object away from me. The object could be barbells and the object could be dumbbells. But am I strong enough to punch somebody as hard as possible? Well, the answer is depends. And depends on what? Have I practiced it? No.
No.
then I would be a weak link. But a boxer
Yeah.
who is half of my size would be able to use all his resources to punch somebody as hard as possible because that is what he does.
Mm.
But if you ask the same boxer to punch from the other side, so let's say a right side puncher, if you ask him not to jab with his left but to punch from his left, then his punch won't be as explosive from the other side.
And then, yeah.
So within the same individual, there could be discrepancy in strength. So this is the strength for mobility or action. So with respect to core strength also, I would say it is again activity specific. So let's say Chitrakshi as a person, she could squat in a picture book form twice her body weight. No flaws in the form. She sits down comfortably, she gets up comfortably. It shows that her mobilizers and stabilizers both are well adapted. She is skilled to squat. But if Chitrakshi has never practiced an aeroplane to be able to stand on one leg,
Yeah. Yeah.
a yoga pose, right?
Yeah.
Chitrashi's leg will start trembling, her
Mm.
torso, correct, will swing as if her aeroplane is in a thunderstorm. So what does it indicate? So somebody who's teaching you an aeroplane would say that Chitrakshi, your core is weak. Am I right?
Right.
But the coach failed to understand that she does have resources, but she had never used the
Mm.
resources, the core
Yeah.
for aeroplane.
That particular moment.
Fantastic. So core strength is again activity specific. So when all my followers or all my students, if anybody wants to build core strength, first ask yourself core strength for what? For which exercise?
Right. Right.
Now the core strength is also needed for to be able to stand on one leg. But
Mm.
one leg with respect to what? Is it for step ups? Is it for pistol squats? Or is it for lunges? Or is it for Bulgarian
Yeah.
squat? So
For
all these four
handling.
exercises, yes,
Mm.
although they are one-legged movement, but if you see the mechanism of the action of all these exercises, although they are one-legged, but the actions are different. So the way your body functions is different.
Mm.
So everything is activity specific. So when somebody would say, I'm strong, I'm fit, everything boils down to one thing, and that is fit for what? Strong for what? With respect to our real life, if Chitrakshi says, I'm qualified, my next question to Chitrakshi would be qualified for
Mm.
what? Exactly. So to be able to assess your qualification, my next question will be what? So same thing.
Every
If
time it
somebody
comes
were
down to specifications.
correct, so specification, then relatability, and
Right.
any exercise, if it is relatable, I would like to
Mm.
call that exercise to be functional. So
Yeah,
with respect
because
to this core training or functional training, the very
mm.
squat with diaphragmatic breathing is functional. The
Yeah,
reason
because
being
your body is
because in real
maintaining
life we
function.
sit down and we get up. But while sitting down and getting up, we have to maintain stability. So
Yeah.
standing on two legs, lifting your load, lifting two dumbbells or one barbell overhead. So practicing overhead presses is functional and relatable because it is relatable to your real life. So maybe an air
Yeah, because
hostess.
yeah,
I'll
like
finish
we
that
are
point.
talking
Maybe an
about
air
the
hostess,
yeah.
she wants to put that heavy luggage over the head. So she has to
Mm.
stand on two legs. But while lifting
And
that load up,
push it. Mm.
right, the pelvic may start swinging back and forth. So that reflects what? She does have shoulder strength, but not enough core strength.
Mm.
And probably the same air hostess would be working out on abs. So she might be doing abdominal exercises. She might be doing rotationals for twist. So she would be doing all possible abdominal workout to strengthen her core.
Um,
But has she learned how to activate all this muscle and to use it for that task? No,
no.
exactly. So I'm not against abdominal training. So this is not the message that I'm trying to spread. All these exercises are important to grow that muscle. Like I spoke about, a thin rubber and a thick rubber. So make your muscles grow, but do not call them core exercises. They are exercises for an individual muscle. So the crunch that I do is to grow the muscle bigger. The oblique twist that we do, it is to grow that muscle. So in our terms, we call it muscle hypertrophy. Make them grow. And as they grow, learn how to use that resources. But how would you use that? Use diaphragmatic breathing and learn how to stabilize it. So diaphragmatic breathing for symmetrical exercises like squat or two-legged exercises, and then comes
Mm.
diaphragmatic breathing for one-legged or one-side exercises. So for instance, if I want to give somebody maybe 3 or 4 exercises to practice to get symmetrical
Mm.
core strength, then I would say a beginner could start from bird dog. As I said, of course, we have to demonstrate that in our next session. But a bird dog would be
Mm.
you're almost practicing cat camel. So you're on one
Okay.
knee and one hand.
That's
So
very
once your
nice.
left hand goes up, the right leg goes back, the body could tilt to one side.
Hmm.
So to be able to counterbalance, all your core muscles are activated. So there is no
Okay.
active movement around it, but the core would learn. So when it comes to symmetry, symmetry is what? The spine is at the center, the muscles are on either side. So let both muscles develop symmetrically. So if I keep practicing squats, overhead presses, although both muscles are recruited, but again, the dominant side will become stronger. And when I say dominant, the neuromuscular coordination is always better on one side. So the brain will
Yeah,
choose
actually that.
to recruit one side more than the other. But when we switch from two-legged movement to one-legged exercises, and that's when the symmetry takes place. Not just in the chosen muscle, but also in the core.
But the right.
Correct. So let's say today you practice Turkish get-ups. Now, why Turkish get-ups? Not just for the sake of shoulder stability, but more importantly, your entire
Why?
spine and pelvic girdle is not twisting anywhere. So the
Right.
mobility would happen around knee, the mobility would happen around the hip joint, but the pelvic
Ankle
will not tilt.
too.
The spine
Right.
does not move. Yes, ankle also. So your
Right.
entire lower extremity, hip joint, knee joint, ankle joint, they act as mobilizer. But the pelvic and
Hmm.
the spine, it acts as stabilizer.
Yeah.
And then the Turkish get up, why Turkish get ups to be practiced on both sides? Why not on one side? Again, the answer boils down to
Again,
same
that.
thing,
Yeah.
symmetry.
Hmm.
So I would say the bird dog is one, which anybody can do anywhere. Then
The
second
single
comes
leg
single
glute
leg bridge.
bridges. Yeah.
Yes, leg glute bridges. So
Right.
when the bridge goes up, so the gluteus maximus, the leg that you kick in, so that gluteus maximus is recruited. The body, the pelvic can collapse. So the medius minimus are recruited. The paraspinal muscles are recruited. And whichever practice or whichever exercise you practice along with this, diaphragmatic breathing is crucial. So, all my viewers, all my followers, I want them to learn first what diaphragmatic breathing is. And it takes time. And it's not rocket science to learn it, it is inbuilt. So, we as babies, we practice diaphragmatic breathing only. If anybody would notice babies, the way they breathe, the abdomen goes up, down, up, down, up, down. Or even you brought that point up to me. Animals, dogs,
Yeah.
cats,
Yeah.
yeah, when they are fallen asleep, you can see their abdomen going up, down, up, down, up, down. So every animal, including us, we actually breathe through abdomen. But again, shallow breathing is always through chest, deep breathing is always through diaphragm. So we need to actually practice abdominal breathing. Learn to expand that like a balloon and hold it tight. So we defined what the core is, we defined its significance, we defined how to activate it, we defined what
And
symmetry
the
is.
use of it in daily living activities.
Correct. So
Yeah.
everyone should first start practicing the diaphragmatic breathing and bracing. So initially, you may have to slightly hurt your ego because sometimes when you want to learn new things, you have to drop your weights
Hmm.
down. And that is quite
Right.
acceptable because you're learning something which is going to offer longevity and that too injury free.
I
So it's
always,
not due
always.
to weak. Hmm, Go on, sorry, go on.
No, it's okay.
So I said it's not always about weak core that leads to back injuries. It's about the improper breathing. So sometimes despite doing abdominal exercises, despite doing gluteal exercises, or despite doing oblique work, a lot of time people do have back pain. And that is purely because of inactivity of core muscles to work together. So use that compressed air like your weightlifting belt. So one of the questions somebody asked me yesterday, like, do I still have to wear weightlifting belt? Now you may wear three or maybe half a dozen weightlifting belt around your back, But if you do not practice abdominal breathing, it's not the belt that is supporting you. The spine is supported by the air inside, and lifting belt has nothing to do with the air inside. So you may have half a dozen belt around you. Let me finish that. You may have half a dozen belt around you, but the cavity can still be empty if you don't fill it up.
Right.
Now, most powerlifting events, now being a powerlifter, most powerlifting
Mm-hmm.
events are what? The rule says you are supposed to wear weightlifting belt. Now,
A mandatory
if you do
experience.
not wear weightlifting belt, you are not allowed to compete.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Now, if you practice diaphragmatic breathing, and if you practice diaphragmatic breathing for squats, deads, and bench,
Yeah.
you do not need weightlifting belt to support you. But if you suddenly go to your event and you have not practiced how to wear weightlifting belt, and if I ask you to squat down, you would find it extremely uncomfortable because again lack of adaptability.
Right.
So the reason why powerlifters wear those belts not to support their back because it's a part of their accessory.
Hmm.
And
This is the
despite wearing that,
mistake people getting of wearing a
yes.
belt on even the
So
lightest
you
lifters.
have watched all my videos, correct? Not once I've used weightlifting belt. So there are people who ask me, like, you deadlifted 250 kilos, you deadlifted 270 kilos, which is again not a big number as far as relative
Yeah.
strength is concerned, but significant enough, like two and a half times than body weight. Then why don't I need it? Because I know I'm not a competitive powerlifter, so I don't have to
Yeah.
practice wearing lift.
Yeah.
Now,
Plus,
if
I'm not
I'm a
working my
sprinter,
spine while I'm breathing, so I
yes,
don't need it.
if I was a competitive sprinter, then definitely I would have to practice with the spike shoes because that is what
Right.
is supposed to be worn when I'm sprinting on track.
Again, that is a skill
But
based.
correct, skill based. But I need to
Yeah.
get adapted to the accessories also. If I'm not
Hmm.
comfortable with the accessory, of course I'm going to be
Then I
uncomfortable on the
won't be
track.
able to. Yeah.
Yes, I won't be able to give my 100%. So it's not the weightlifting belt that is supporting the powerlifter. Now, why this myth spreads that weightlifters or lifting heavy weightlifting belt need to be worn during lifting heavy? A, they say powerlifters. Now, powerlifters are lifting
Hmm.
maybe three times, maybe three and a half times, four times than body weight.
Yeah.
So the message that goes out after watching these videos that while lifting heavy, you are supposed to wear lifting belt. But what they fail to realize, the viewers who are watching that video, they fail to realize, despite wearing those weightlifting belts, they do practice diaphragmatic breathing. Because in the
Hmm.
absence of diaphragmatic breathing, no amount, no number of belt can support your spine. And which is why sometimes they have to practice with this weightlifting suit also, because we have to
Yeah.
get used to it.
Those suits are
Although
really, really
weightlifting suit may have some
uncomfortable.
added advantage as far as tightness
Yeah,
is
they do.
concerned,
Hmm.
yes, but eventually the bottom line is eventually what I'm trying to convey is you have to get adapted to the demand that your event is placing on you. So that
Hmm.
if the event is on uneven terrain, let's say if it's a marathon race and it is on uneven terrain, then practicing on a jogging track is not going to help you.
Right.
So you may develop endurance to jog, but the surface
Hmm.
on which you are supposed to run in your main event, that you something that you are unadapted for. So again, coming back to my initially what I
Hmm.
said,
Yeah.
when people say I want to strengthen my core, as a coach, I would ask, why do you want to strengthen your core? For what? And
Hmm.
that's when the application comes back. So a lay person would say, I want to protect my back. I had a back injury. I'm scared of doing deadlifts again. I'm scared of doing squats again. So
Hmm.
beat anybody. First learn how diaphragmatic breathing is and keep practicing that.
Yeah.
And of course,
That
there
is the
are other
base of.
factors.
Yeah.
Yes, build your base. And then comes other factors to protect your spine, to protect your knees. And that is nothing but joint mobility. Of course, we'll do another video on that. But
Hmm.
having efficient joint mobility and the breathing technique through diaphragm, then you're absolutely safe. So it's not about lifting heavy, it's not about lifting light, it's about lifting in the right way. So after going through the entire discussion, I hope the viewers got my point that build your base first. So let me get that summary in. So first, build your foundation by learning how to breathe through abdomen. So you
Mhm.
may have to practice that at home. So that can be done any time of the day. Learn how to breathe through abdomen, but not when you are seated, not when you're lying down, because that's not how you perform in the gym. So you
Right.
can simply stand in a squat
And then wait.
stance. Not necessarily you have to have weight. Simply stand the way you stand for squats and learn how to practice abdominal breathing. Then get into bent over position of your deadlift, and then start practicing how diaphragmatic breathing is done. So mimic the action that you perform on the gym floor. Mimic the action, not the weights. Again, I repeat, mimic the
Mhm.
action what you do on the gym floor at home, and start practicing abdominal breathing, diaphragmatic breathing. And please, please, please do not inhale and exhale on the way down and up. That is not the optimal way to lift maximum possible weight. And those who say that it is going to spike your blood pressure, it is going to cause any kind of heart problem, it does not. It does not. The spike in blood pressure that happens because of Valsalva maneuver, it's momentary. It's not going to stay throughout your life. It's not chronic. It's acute. It is only for a short period of time, but it comes back again.
And then it comes from, yeah.
And I'm going slightly off the topic when it comes to this particular heart health. So when this intra-abdominal pressure rises, when the blood pressure spikes momentarily for a short period of time, your blood vessels actually expand. That's called vasodilation,
Hmm.
because all our blood vessels are elastic. They can expand, they can shrink, they can expand. So vasodilation, vasoconstriction, dilation, constriction. So they have ability to change the diameter. But when you keep practicing this abdominal breathing, diaphragmatic breathing, withholding of breath, eventually over a period of time, the diameter of all your blood vessels expand, which is extremely good for your heart health in the long run. So there is no need to worry about. And since we are not touching upon the fact about the special population cases, so let me summarize what we discussed so far. So first foundation is build your foundation by diaphragmatic breathing at home. Then practice the diaphragmatic breathing for all your exercises, whatever you do. And then minimum about 3 to 4 exercises that you can do for symmetrical strength. So exercise number one would be bird dog. Exercise number two would be the bridge, single legged. Number three would be unilateral deadlifts, so single legged regular deadlift. And number four would be, I would say, in my opinion, start with suitcase carry. So suitcase carry is something like people have seen farmers walk. Dumbbells are held, or maybe trap bar, or maybe anything held on the side. But start with suitcase carry. So dumbbell or kettlebell could be only on one hand. So rather twisting your spine, you simply stand as erect as possible. So let's say if the dumbbell is in my right hand, the right side will try to collapse. So all my left side muscles, correct? This is my oblique, the deeper one, the quadratus lumborum, the gluteus medius, they all try to make me symmetrical. So if I'm walking with one side, what I do is I'm creating momentum, but at the same time I'm maintaining stability. So that's how the symmetrical strength is built. So there are four exercises people can start incorporating for symmetrical strength. I repeat these four exercises once again. So first one, what did I say? Uh,
Bird and dog.
Bird dog, correct. Then second would be the single leg bridge. Third would be the unilateral, that is single legged regular deadlift. And fourth would be suitcase carry. So these are something that they can start practicing. Anything more?
Yeah, I guess we have covered up all the topics we discussed.
Sorry?
We have covered all the topics for the core activation.
Fantastic. So what we'll do now, CK, that next week, correct, we'll demonstrate these four exercises. So I want you
Sure,
to demonstrate.
sure.
So not only these four assisting exercises which we described, but also the diaphragmatic breathing and the way we squat down,
Hmm.
so that the theory has been taught, so they will learn how to see it practically.
Right.
So again,
We'll do
will
that.
yeah, we'll notify them when we are doing it. So most
Sure,
likely next Sunday at the same time, looks like.
sure, sure, sure. Also,
I
thank you
hope
so
my
much,
viewers enjoyed it,
everyone, to join. Yeah,
because yeah, sure. And I would be really happy with all your feedbacks, be it positive, be it negative. I'm open to all, because this is the first time I went live actually. I'm quite camera shy, so let's see. So do we what sign out?
Yeah, sure.
Thank you everybody. I hope you all enjoyed it. See you next time. Bye.